my startup is in pivot hell right now, but this is my plan on how I plan to get out of it. So for those of you that don't know what pivot hell is, pivoting in a startup is essentially when you go from one idea and you switch to a different idea that you're working on. And pivot hell is essentially when you originally had an idea and it didn't work and you pivot. Then you realize that idea is not going to work and you pivot again. And then you do it again and again and again, endlessly. And that's what I felt like for so long with the tool that I'm building. But I finally feel like I'm getting out of the tunnel of pivot hell, and maybe somehow in this video, I'll tell you a little bit of my process on how I navigated this pivot hell and maybe some steps for you to break out of this pivot hell mess that you might find yourself in as well. So for a little bit of context, I'm a serial app builder. I've built over 14 apps in the past 5 years, but roughly for the past year and a half or so, I've been focused on one particular tool that my co-founder and I, we've been pivoting a lot on. The idea originally started off as a tool called perfectinterview.ai. It's actually still up at the time of filming this video. Who knows if it'll be up in the future though. But perfectinterview.ai was an AI-powered job interview prepping tool. And the way that it worked is that users can upload any job description, and then from that job description, we'll generate practice interview questions for them to practice against. And we built out a mock interviewer, an AI-powered mock interviewer that lets users to go through mock interviews with these practice questions themselves, just chatting back and forth using natural language in real time with this AI interviewer. Very similar to OpenAI's voice mode that they have on their app. And fun fact, here's a video right here talking about how exactly I built out that feature. So that was a tool we originally built, something in the B2C space. But then we realized like, B2C kind of sucks. I mean, there's pros and cons to each, but at the end of the day, the biggest cons we saw with the B2C space is that it's hard to charge a lot of money and people churn a lot. So with that in mind, we decided to pivot into the B2B space because we figured with the B2B product, if we're solving a really core business need, they'll be around to pay us for a lot longer time. So they're going to churn a lot less and they're willing to pay a lot more to solve their problem that they have. So with this B2B pivot, my co-founder and I wanted to go into a space that we felt like we had a competitive advantage in, a space that we felt like we could reach a lot of these customers relatively easily compared to other folks. So our first B2B pivot that we made was into the career coaching space because our tool, Perfect Interview, was already kind of adjacent to the career coaching market. So why not turn this tool and use some of the same existing technology to build like a complete operating system for career coaches to run their businesses on. So we did a lot of cold outreach and we were able to get a couple of people who were interested as some pilot users. And they really did like the tool, don't get me wrong. But then as we continued going about this process, we realized, number one, the pain point, it wasn't a hair on fire problem like that for them. They weren't like, oh my God, this needs to be solved. It wasn't as big of a painkiller as we thought it was going to be. And for a lot of people, it was kind of on the more vitamin side. It's like more, meaning it's more of a nice to have rather than a must have. And then on top of that, we were doing a quick like back of the napkin math and we realized like the market just didn't seem big enough for us to continue pursuing this angle. And the way that we came to the conclusion was that we looked at the competitive landscape to see if anyone's directly serving these career coaches. And there wasn't any existing really big players, particularly serving these career coaches. Now, you can interpret this two different ways. Number one could be, oh my God, there's no competitor. This is an opening for us to get in and like dominate this market. Or number two could be, ooh, if there's no competitors in this space, that means this market is not validated, meaning maybe this problem is not worth solving and there's not a lot of business potential behind this potential niche and potential angle. We ended up going with the latter. And if you've watched any of my other videos on this YouTube channel, you have probably heard me talk about how you should only go into existing markets. I personally like to build products that already have market validation from other competitors because that means these other players have already proven that people are willing to pay for a particular software to solve a particular pain point. So when we saw the lack of competitors in this space as well, we were like, yeah, maybe this ain't it, bro. I don't know about this one, chief. So then we went back to the drawing board to try to figure out how to pivot again in a space with a bigger market, with more existing competitors that we can still use our existing underlying technology for. This is a really stressful time. It felt like we were a solution in search of a problem, which is a very popular term coined by Y Combinator, the super famous accelerator. It felt bad. We just felt like we were throwing spaghetti at the wall, trying to see what sticks. And most of the time, I don't think this is the way you should go about startups and try to avoid it as much as you can. But my co-founder and I, we found ourselves in this situation. But luckily, I think we found ourselves a way out because now our current pivot, which I do think is the path forward, it feels very good. I mean, I said that about every other idea I've built, but this one in particular feels extra good, extra different. And we are now pivoting our product to building out an AI recruiter. And the way that this tool works and the way specifically how this leverages our existing technology that we've built for the other two iterations of this product is that for every single candidate that applies to a certain job listing that a company will host on our website, not only will candidates upload their resume, but but then we'll also put them through a quick interview with an AI interviewer. And then the AI interviewer will perform some basic screening, some basic assessments to see just, is this candidate actually worth moving over to a real person, like human interview? Because no matter what, I think I'm a firm believer that it doesn't matter how good AI recruiting gets. I think hiring somebody always needs to have some type of human process, especially when you're trying to hire somebody at any company, because you want to make sure not only are they like technically sound and smart, you want to make sure they're not like a psychopath and like they fit in with the culture. And I think that's really hard, that culture fit. It's really hard to gauge with purely AI, and I think you do need that human in the loop process right there. And there's so many different other tools and other paths we want to go down and other features we want to build with this particular product, but we're first starting off with that in-house AI recruiter that'll handle all the incoming job applications and screen them with an AI interview, asking them any question that you want, assess them a little bit, and just get a better picture of every candidate that comes in so that you only have to meet in person in real life with the ones that are actually good. And if you look at the market, there are tons and tons of these hiring solutions out there. I mean, in software engineering alone, you have the platforms like LeetCode, Carrot. Back in the day, there was TripleByte, HackerRank, all these tools about trying to assess candidates to ultimately help out these companies hire better candidates. And that is a huge problem that people are just dying to pay for. That's why recruiting is a full-time job for people as well. It's crazy. So this is our current iteration, our current pivot that we're going to be working on, and we feel pretty good about it. So if you find yourself stuck in some type of pivot hell, I'll give you some of the things that I was thinking about and my co-founder were thinking about as we were trying to figure out what to build next. Number one is to figure out potential industry or niche that you yourself have a competitive advantage in. So for us, the way that we landed on this AI recruiter solution, our competitive advantage in the distribution angle of things is the fact that, well, both my co-founder and I were relatively large on social media. His name is Meng Meng Duck on social media. He has like 600,000 on TikTok, almost 200K on Instagram. Myself, I'm on YouTube right here. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram too. And both of us are particularly in a niche where we're like in a corporate / career / business niche, where we're going to be interacting with a lot of people that are gonna try to hire people or people that are trying to get jobs. So that was our distribution niche. So my general advice, which by the way, I'm not a startup expert. I'm like literally in the trenches trying to figure this out as I go. So don't take my word, don't take my advice as like the law of the land. You got to figure out what works for you. But for myself, we were really thinking in our pivoting process, what is our distribution advantage? What is a place that we have a distribution advantage? And that's how we landed on both the career coaching angle as well as this recruiting angle. The second thing that we considered in our pivoting process was, does it already have an existing market or not? Yes, every once in a while, you can be like once in a blue moon scenario where you really find a market that doesn't have any competitors in there and you really just end up dominating that space like crazy. But chances are that is not going to be the case. And I personally am a bigger fan of going into a place that already has existing market fit and that already has existing paying customers paying for particular solutions. So if you see competitors in your space, don't be afraid. If anything, take that as a better signal, because that means you're in a space where customers are literally willing to put their credit card down and pay for your solution. And the third and final thing that my co-founder and I were thinking about during our pivoting process is pivoting into a space that we were really excited and like kind of pumped up about. At the end of the day, I think there are two types of startup founders. There's like missionaries and mercenaries. And for us, I think this depends on a person by person basis, and you know yourself best. But for a long time, I thought that myself and my co-founder as well, we thought we were mercenaries where we can build in a space where we don't care about the market, we don't care about the customer, we don't find any mission in that space. As long as there's a business opportunity, fuck it, let's do it. But over time, I've kind of learned about myself, and I think my co-founder would agree as well, that we're actually more missionaries than anything. And I think for the career coaching angle, we just weren't like that pumped about it. We just didn't really like it all that much. Like it wasn't something that we could really find a lot of internal motivation to do when the times got tough. But for the AI recruiting angle, the way that my co-founder and I are more excited about this angle is the fact that it helps turn underdogs into winners. It helps give opportunities to people that, you know, maybe they don't have a great resume, but now if the future of hiring had these like quick 10-15 minute interviews, quick 10-15 minute phone screens where candidates kind of vouch for themselves and talk about their work and why they're a good fit for a role outside of just their raw resume or something, we find that a more mission driven, and it's something that gives us that extra fire to continue working on an idea when the times are going to get tough. So I don't think this third point is going to apply to everybody out there, especially if you're a mercenary, but for myself and my co-founder, we've realized that this is actually something really important to us. It's something we need to feel deep down in our soul, in our gut, so that we can find that energy when shit hits the fan and things are going really, really poorly. How do we continue working on this idea? And that's where we get our energy from. So that is my story of being stuck in pivot hell for a very long time, but I think we are finally coming out of it. There is light at the end of the tunnel. We think we see light. Just hope it's not like a mirage or something and it's actual light. And hopefully you found this video helpful just to give some maybe type of framework to navigate your next pivot. Who knows? But that is all I have for today. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.